Childhood Encounter banner is our second seasonal kids banner, and once again we got some very powerful units. This year it's dedicated to Sacred Stones, and we get young versions of Lyon, Tana, and Duo Eirika Ephraim. We'll be going over their stats, skills, and then talk about some playstyles and build ideas. For our 4-star focus unit, it's going to be Little Lyon. You can get him at 4-star and 5-star rarity. Just want to state again that this is a limited time seasonal banner, so keep that in mind. As a unit, Little Lyon will be a blue infantry mage. We now got red, green, and blue Leons, so maybe he'll get a colorless version to complete the whole set like Micaiah. For the most part, the only thing not shown from the trailer was Leon's stats. He has 38 HP, 38 attack, 18 speed, 34 defense, and 37 resistance. My goodness, like Fallen Leon, this version is also min-maxed for low speed. He has great base attack, defense, and resistance for a mage. Leon will have HP and attack super boons. Funny thing is that we just got Sonya, who is a heroic girl blue mage with a tankier stat spread. Leon has way less speed than her, so you probably won't be able to salvage it, but 34 defense and 37 res is crazy good. He will certainly be a tough range unit to take down. For old skills, Leon has Iceberg, which is just fine with his great base res stat. He then has attack and res solo to tank magic damage even better, and then he comes with defense and res gap. This is a pretty good gap skill because your main tank probably has the highest defense plus res total, and boosting both of those every turn from anywhere on the map is very nice. I believe attack and res solo will also be Leon's 4-star skill if you want to pass that to another unit. Little Leon is lucky enough to get a unique weapon. He has the Toma Grotto, and this is a 14 tome that grants another +3 attack. Leon will definitely have a good amount of damage, especially if you get that attack super boon. If the foe initiates combat or if the foe has full HP, Leon gets 3 different effects. First, he inflicts -6 attack and res on the foe. Second, he neutralizes any attack and res stat penalties on himself. Third, he gets weapon triangle advantage against ranged colorless units. Pretty solid weapon that's always active on the enemy phase, but with the extra res debuffs, Leon can put a dent in someone on the player phase as well. He probably won't double anyone, but with a -6 attack debuff on top of his amazing defense and res stats, this little dude is not going to go down easily. Little Leon seems like a blue version of Kyria, sort of, and she can get quite scary if you just stack attack stats. As a bonus, Leon will have a sort of Raven Tome effect. Just keep in mind that, like his Fallen ult, this only applies to ranged colorless units and not colorless dragons or beast units. That said, while Fallen Leon is really just a ranged tank specialist, Little Leon can use his debuffs on anyone. He is a bit like the regular Leon with his new refine, but definitely turned up to 11. For builds, it should be clear that Little Leon probably will not double anyone, so Quick Riposte is a fine skill to secure those 1-round KOs. Since he already has one solo skill, you can just double up on that and attack a defense solo. It's a good option. If you want to be selfish, you can even borrow the Rouse Attack and Res buff from Spring Soleil. While Quick Riposte is a tried and true skill, low attack and res is a really good option. It would stack with the Toma Grotto for a very annoying -9 attack and res debuff at all times on the enemy, and you ignore their attack and res buffs. You can still run Quick Riposte as a secret seal too. If you would prefer to just go full enemy phase, then Leon cannot go wrong with a tier 3 dual stance skill. Sturdy or Mirror Stance 3 are good since they also grant guard, and then their Sacred Seal versions are great fillers as well. You could go for Distant Defense 4 to ignore all ranged foe field buffs, but I do think stacking attack might be a bit more fun. Leon already gets a lot of tankiness, so some killing power can make him more of a threat. If you want a sort of mixed phase build, Sturdy Impact would be great, and you can pair it with Attack Smoke to just shrug off enemy phase attacks. Like regular Leon, you can also just go with Close Foil or Close Counter. The extra stats are appreciated, and Leon would be able to counter everyone except for dragons. Even then, he's not going to get super messed up by adaptive damage. If you want more build ideas, you can check out what people are running on Kyria, since they have a similar stat spread and unique weapon. Overall, Little Leon is pretty much a great summonable alternative to Sonya. He is limited, but Toma Grotto is fantastic. That said, I still think Sonya is a good unit, mainly because Pack Bonus Plus can provide similar debuffs to Toma Grotto. You can also +10 Sonya eventually, while you're going to have to face RNG to get +10 for Little Leon. I think Mini Marth will still be the more popular 4-star focus unit from these kid banners, but this version of Leon will do just fine for himself. And he's a very fun and interesting type of mage. Moving on, next is Little Laoshao. She's a cavalry healer with 36 HP, 37 attack, 38 speed, 16 defense, and 30 resistance. Laoshao has some of the Gen 1 healer type of defensive stats, not the highest base HP, awful base defense, and okay resistance. She will just explode from any physical damage hit. However, Laoshao has put all of her power creep bonus points into attack and speed. 37 attack, 38 base speed is insanely good on a 3 movement cavalier. She's almost matching some of the 5-star only mage calves. Laoshao will have HP and speed super boons, and we all know which one is probably the better option. Compared to her cavalry peers, I would say Little Laoshao now has the best offensive spread for a healer on wheels. finally, someone surpasses Brave Veronica. That won't be all though, because La Rochelle is certainly not going to be your typical supportive backline troubadour. For old skills, she has Rescue Plus. This is the healing assist combined with draw back, and that's actually really interesting when paired with one of her new skills. La Rochelle also has Windfire Bomb Plus for plus 6 attack and speed buffs. Just keep in mind, Rescue does not give you special charge, so she has to fight someone to charge her bomb special. That's not a problem though, because La Rochelle also comes with attack and speed push 4. That's plus 7 attack and speed when you're healthy, and one of the few offensive A skills healers can utilize. The young Princess of Roston doesn't just stop at great base attack and speed stats or attack and speed push 4, her Staff of Roston also has built-in Wrathful Staff, so La Rochelle deals full damage. At the start of the turn, she inflicts -5 res, and these stats preventing counterattacks on the closest foes within 5 spaces through the next actions. And finally, if she initiates combat, she gains another plus 6 attack and speed, because why not? Jesus, La Rochelle is basically a colorless mage at this point. Plus 6 attack and speed for a staff is insanely good, and she emits a debuff every turn on the closest foe, which makes them take even more damage and they cannot fight back. Staff of Roston can simulate the Wrathful plus Dazzling Staff combo, but it's probably only going to hit one enemy. For PvE content, if you're surrounded by reinforcements, then it might be a bit tougher to control who gets debuffed, and you do need to protect La Rochelle from counterattacks. This will be a real annoying weapon to face if you don't have no Disrupt, and even then La Rochelle will still do a good amount of damage. We do have a brand new skill line with this banner, and it's quite an interesting one. Speed and Res Far Trace 3 inflicts -3 speed and res on the foe during combat. More importantly, it grants Kanto remaining. This skill is inheritable by ranged cavaliers and flyers. Makes sense since Kanto is for mounted units mainly. Unlike Reagan or Sumia, who can have Kanto 3 and Kanto 2, Kanto remaining works kind of like the main games. You can only Kanto move if you didn't use all your original movement for that first action. For example, if La Rochelle moves 2 spaces, heals an ally, Far Trace then lets her move 1 space away with the Kanto action. All these same Kanto rules apply to this skill, except if you use a warping ability. If you warp anywhere, that makes your remaining movement 0, so you won't be able to Kanto afterwards. This makes it tougher to overextend with the Cavaliers through movement and then retreat to safety. It is way weaker than Reagan's Kanto 3, but inheritable Kanto in any form is just crazy. For example, La Rochelle can heal an ally, then reposition. Better yet, she has Rescue Plus, so she can draw back an ally, then move it Kanto. It will be tougher to utilize with long range engagements, but for mobility around your teammates, you have so many options. So to recap, this little lady has 37 attack, 38 speed, her weapon grants plus 6 attack and speed, and attack and speed push 4 adds another plus 7. 64 attack, 51 speed with just her base kit. Staff of Roston does have support uses, but man, La Rochelle is basically a colorless mage, insanely powerful offensive healer, and you don't really need to add anything else. Feel free to run whatever C skill and Sacred Seals for more damage. Even Speed and Res Far Trace inflicts some debuffs, so La Rochelle can dish out a lot of pain. Of course, while Kanto on a healer is very nice, you can just run Dazzling Staff to always prevent counterattacks. It may be safer for PvE maps since generally you get overrun by lots of enemies all over the place. Besides that though, La Rochelle is already ready to do her job as a healer with lots of damage output. Push 4 skills are generally great A skills, but the recoil damage can be an issue for longer fights. You could run Lift to Serve to keep La Rochelle healthy, or you could use the new Catch skills. They grant plus 7 attack and speed on the full HP foes, and another plus 2 if they have a penalty on them. Staff of Roston can apply that penalty for La Rochelle, so it's a pretty good skill for her, although not really necessary. Really, not a lot else to say. Little La Rochelle is an offensive beast as far as healers go, and Staff of Roston can be super annoying if the enemy frontline cannot stop its debuff. I think Innes better watch his back this time. Third, we got Tiny Tana. She is a Lance Flyer with 40 HP, 39 attack, 41 speed, 29 defense, and 20 resistance. Attack and speed super boons because every banner has to fill its quota. Much like regular Tana, this version will have great offensive stats, even among the saturated Lance Flyer pool. She's not the fastest or the strongest, but basically she's right behind the leader in both stats, so you don't mess around with her. For old skills, Tana has Draconic R, which may seem unusual, but her attack is actually quite up there. Her A skill is Steady Impact, plus 7 speed, plus 10 defense when initiating, and denies one of the foe's follow-up attacks. I believe this is the second time it's available, still locked to limited units. Last, no 5-star flyer is complete without their Rain C skill, and Tana has the attack and speed variant. For a weapon, Tana has the Lance of Frelia. This is a 6-team weapon that accelerates specials and lets Tana warp to any space within 2 spaces of an ally within 2 spaces. Sounds confusing, but this is the same ability that Halloween Noe's Refine got, and even though Tana is not a ranged flyer, it's still a ridiculous mobility skill. Additionally, at the start of combat, if Tana has more than 25% HP, she gains plus 6 attack and speed, and if she's initiating, she gains another plus 10 defense and res. My goodness. So first off, you'll notice that Lance of Frelia shares 2 effects with Innes's Bow of Frelia, faster specials, and when healthy, they get plus 6 attack and speed. Tana will then get amazing mobility and freaking 10 defense and 10 res just for initiating. If you think about it, it's like combining mirror impact and steady impact minus the fallout prevention part. I feel like they took the regular Tana's Vidofner Refine and made it for the player phase basically. Lots of extra defensive stats to take counterattacks while initiating. For her new B skill, Tana has speed and defense near trace 3, similar to La Rochelle's far trace, but there are some differences here. For one, near trace is for melee, cavaliers and flyers. Instead of Kanto remaining, it is Kanto remaining +1. That means if Tana uses her 2 movement to attack, she would have 0 remaining movement, but then you add +1, so Tana can always move at least somewhere after with the Kanto action. This actually makes it better when you do warp, since far trace will not let you Kanto afterwards, but near trace still gives you 1 movement. This is very valuable for Tana specifically because Lance of Freya has that crazy extended warp ability. Tana can literally hopscotch over teammates and then retreat a little as well. I didn't mention it before, but these trace skills are very nice B skill options for flyers since flyers cannot use low debuffs. They can stack the -3 debuffs with the rain debuffs, which is awesome, and you can get Kanto for movement options. Let's just pray trace skills do not remain as rare as Dive Bomb, Pegasus Flight, or Wyvern Flight. In terms of playstyle, Tana is going to be flying all over the place with Lance of Freya. She can then use her extra mobility to initiate attacks, and afterwards she can use near trace to Kanto backwards. In terms of stats, Tana's base attack and speed are amazing with OK defense and res. That is a bit misleading though, because Lance of Freya plus steady impact will give Tana plus 20 defense and plus 10 res on initiations. She prevents 1 follow-up attack, and then attack and speed rain decreases the enemy's damage even more. A lot of defensive measures for the player phase. In terms of speed, Lance of Freya grants +6, steady impact is +7, speed and defense near trace inflicts -3 on the foe, and attack and speed rain inflicts -4. Altogether, that's +20 speed for Tana, and if it's the enemy phase, she still gets +13 speed. Tana may be tiny, but she's deceptively strong. Her player phase is certainly her strong point, but I think you could do a mixed build too. A Unity A skill would work nicely with her warping spaces, and guard bearing is quite annoying, although Young Innis may make you think twice about that. If you don't want to run an offensive Sacred Seal, the new attack defense form seal could also work too. Other Sacred Seal options are Flyer Guidance and regular Guidance. Just like Halloween Noe, Tana can use Lance of Freya to ferry allies next to her. For example, she can be 2 spaces behind a teammate, she then warps 2 spaces ahead of them, then Guidance can give the teammate the ability to warp to Tana. For bonus mobility options, near trace can let Tana move backwards 1 space thanks to Kanto, and that can be in range for more units that warp with Guidance. 2 space warping, Kanto, and Guidance just makes my brain hurt. For something a bit more familiar, Tana will be another good Gale Force flyer, 4 quote on Gale Force with lots of defense to take counterattacks, and she has high attack to make heavy blade work. Really just a solid all-around lance flyer. Her base kit's already a lot of fun, but you can make adjustments if you want to go full offensive or maybe splash in some mixed phase usage. Last up is Duo Eirika and Ephraim. The tiny twin lords make their tag team appearance as a sword infantry unit. Duo Eirika will have 40 HP, 36 attack, 43 speed, 30 defense, and 20 resistance. Very impressive res for a sword unit, and Eirika has a speed super boon as well. 43 speed actually makes her the fastest sword infantry unit in terms of base stats, and Eirika's offensive spread is actually higher than those like Merida and Fallen Ike, just for some comparisons. In fact, with 43 base speed and a super boon, Eirika actually catches up to Freya, so definitely impressive stuff. As for old skills, we have a nice selection. Lunanswer Special is fine, Distant Foil is interesting for countering archers and dagger units, No Follow-Up is a staple sword master skill, and During Dry Speed is always nice for any fast unit. For her weapon, Duo Eirika has the Blade of Renee, 16-weight sword to X-ray specials, and if Eirika initiates combat or she's within 2 spaces of an ally, she gains +5 to all stats. Actually very good general stat boost considering her base stats. Now if you initiate or are nearby allies and Eirika has either a bonus or a penalty on her, she deals true damage equal to 20% of the foe's defense stat, and that is per attack. This is basically a weaker Moonbow every hit or a weaker version of Legendary Alm's bow. However, Eirika will also heal for the same amount of bonus damage every hit as well. Like the OG Eirika, this one also sort of relies on buffs to be at full power, although Duo Eirika can use any bonus including status effects. You can also use any penalties to activate it, but Eirika isn't disabling those or anything, so generally you just want a reliable way to buff her up. Faster specials, +5 to all stats, mini Moonbow every hit, and a bit of healing makes Duo Eirika one hell of a generalist sword unit. She can do good damage, sustain a little, and fire from her specials. Seems like a great unit to pair with the close call type skills. Well, it turns out that the twins dual skill grants just that. When activated, grant dodge to Eirika and any allies within 3 rows and 3 columns centered on Eirika. Basically, the 8 tiles surrounding Eirika. As for dodge, this is a new status, but it's basically the speed-based damage reduction ability we've seen a lot for the past year. If you outspeed the enemy, you can get up to 40% damage reduction, and you need to outspeed them by 10 or more to hit that max cap. Moving forward, I think we would just refer to close call type skills as the dodge skills or dodge tanking. Of course, we don't actually have dodge mechanics since there's no hit rates in Fae, but this simulates that effect from the main games for our faster units. Important to note that Duo Eirika can give dodge to any ally, and there are many unit types who cannot use those dodge B skills. For example, speedy dragons, army units, cavaliers, flyers, or even just a ranged unit. This will be a very fun dual skill, and it's kind of like having Flame on your team, although you actually do need to win those speed checks, so it's not going to work for everyone. Still, very nice skill, and there are some very fast allies on this banner. Important to note, percent damage reduction stacks multiplicatively, so you can't just get 100% damage reduction with a couple skills. Another thing to note is that young Innis, the free Tempest reward unit, has a weapon that disables damage reduction skills when he procs his special. It is hilarious that the brand new dual unit has their dual skill neutralized by the free unit in the same update. It seems like this time Innis got the upper hand on Ephraim. With that said, Duo Eirika isn't fully dependent on dodge tanking like say Freya is. She has good base defense and res, and she gets +5 to both stats. She even has distant foil for extra defense. Honestly, the dodge dual skill is just the cherry on top, and it's still fantastic with no fallout. For the most part, Eirika will use her dual skill to get access to a status effect, which then activates Blade of Renee's full power. I forgot to mention that the dual skill will recharge every odd turn, so she can have it up somewhat often, which is good for longer fights. With the bonus damage and healing on hit, no follow-up is very good to keep, since Eirika can hit tankier foes 2 times, more damage and more healing. She could run a healing special as well, since she does have faster specials. For Sacred Seals, more speed would be nice to get the full damage reduction from the dodge status, although really you can just go with whatever you really want. So with Sparrow, attack speed solo, stance skills, forge defense and res, attacker speed smoke, flashing blade, choice up to you. Eirika already has a lot of power from her base kit and stats. If you wanted, she could very easily run the regular distant counter skill with her good res stat for a sword unit. I think they just went with distant foil because we only have one other distant foil holder, so good to get it out more. Instead of joint drive speed, you could go with joint hone speed because again, Eirika needs a bonus on her to fully activate her weapon. We also got Rouse or Oath buffs for slightly cheaper options. A cute little detail is that among these rounded kid units, Lyon's defensive res gap buff will always go to Eirika, which is great for always having Blade of Renee active. Overall, she's a very fun little sword unit. Duo Eirika should be fine against all types of threats, although you can focus on more offensive power if you really want. That's all I got for now. I already talked about this banner a bit, but it's no question that I will be trying to get everyone for myself. Man, I would love to go for a lot of little Lyon merges, but I'm gonna have to get insanely lucky for that to happen, and I would definitely have to spend some money. Don't know how far I'm gonna go, but I would chase for at least a copy of everyone. Now, if you aren't interested in this banner, you should absolutely take a look at the upcoming Tempest Trials unit. I already made my video on young Innis because this guy is just incredible. Easily one of the best free-to-play archers in the game, and everyone should at the very least use the free 5-star copy. I will be +10ing him in the future for sure. Thanks for watching, good luck on your summons, and I will see you guys next time.